as 2023 comes to a close, I like to look back at the goals that January Morgan thought she would accomplish and laugh. It's been that kind of year again. Welcome back to Morgan's Writing Tips and Writerly Musings with writing tips from the pros and, of course, my own Writerly Musings. I'm your host, Morgan Hazelwood, and today I'm here with Morgan's 2023 resolutions, part one. Each year, I like to set quote unquote smart goals and then look back and see how I did at them, both reaching the goals and the priorities I set. It's a good thing revision and reading were tops of my list this year because that's where the majority of my productivity ended up. I revised my space fantasy twice and started querying it. And over half drafted a second space fantasy. I read a ridiculous number of books, attended 5 in-person conventions, and even wrote some poetry. Between various writing groups, RavenCon, Balticon, Imaginarium, and Capclave, I was on 22 panels, 4 workshops, attended 13 panels, 8 convention events, and placed second in a cosplay competition. Outside of cons and panels, I attended 3 different writing groups, participated in a hashtag AuthorTube community, and hit my local open mic night for writers almost regularly. Live conventions kept me hopping, but I didn't completely neglect my writing. But binge reading romances on Kindle Unlimited kind of destroyed the end of my year. So let's talk about my writing goals for last year. As always, they were smart, specific, measurable, achievable, results focused, and time bound goals, focusing on things that I can actually control, and as always, ordered by priority. So, my 2023 goals started off with revision. I wanted to get the feedback from my final beta reader and revise my space fantasy, and revise at least one short story. Giving myself partial credit here, I did revise my space fantasy twice, but I didn't revise any short stories. Not really even the one I posted. I did write one though. Second goal was reading. I kept my goal to 52 books read this year, with at least one a month being from my physical to read bookshelf that's behind me, behind the tree and completely overrun. This was both an amazing success and partial credit. I hit a binge reading mood about 2 weeks into November and probably read over half of the 244 books that I read this year since then. Probably 10% of that 244 were novellas, and 90% of them were from Kindle Unlimited romances. I read like 4 physical books this year, so kind of a fail there, but definitely read enough. My third goal was querying and submitting. This year, I wanted to, for my short stories and poetry, actively submit my polished short stories to 6 markets a quarter. And wanted to consider revamping my second world fantasy as not strictly YA and query relevant agents. Get my Also to get my space fantasy into the trenches before NaNoWriMo. Well, this was mostly a fail. I only saw 2 submissions listed on my submission tracker, and I could have sworn I sent out more, so I'm a little confused on that. I did get one rejection for my second world fantasy, but I did send out 17 queries for that space fantasy that did get fully edited and out before NaNoWriMo, with at least 11 rejections so far. Next on my goals was writing. I wanted to write new words for NaNoWriMo, and one short story and at least 12 poems. Unqualified success. I wrote 50K of a new story for NaNoWriMo, 21 poems, and squeezed in a short story like what, last week? Next up, I had my blogging vlogging podcast. I wanted to have a new blog and vlog out every Thursday, and the weekly podcast with like a week off in between. Success, except for literally this post, which is 1 day late, but I have missed no weeks. Um, Next goal related to conventions and writing groups. I wanted to panel at three or more conventions, attend at least six open mic nights, at least six monthly writer meetings, and three NaNoWriMo events, plus staff Balticon. This was a success. I paneled 22 times at various conventions, in person at RavenCon, Balticon, Imaginarium, and Capclave, and virtually at the AuthorTube's writer conference, a local school event called ScribbleCon, and the panel room for Constellation. Oh, and a last minute fill in at SmuffCon. I attended maybe 8 open mic nights, 7 monthly writer meetings, one writer retreat, and three NaNoWriMo write ins, and I staffed Balticon again. So, and my final goal for this year was beta reading. I wanted to not do too much, but uh, definitely do some. And this was a success. I beta read exactly one full length manuscript this year, but I did collaborate with Patrick Hopkins and I revised a number of queries and synopses with Patrick on our query helpline, some live, some not so live. So, things I accomplished outside of my list include I joined TikTok, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Threads. I attended a writer retreat. I interviewed on the podcast Writers Drinking Coffee, even though I consumed no coffee. And I set up a coffee services for people looking for query and submission assistance. So, in conclusion, I didn't do as much as I hoped, as always. Some of the issues were, as always, the consequences of decisions. The end of the year was dominated by binge reading and a complete lack of executive function. But the rest of the year, I overcommitted on conventions and did not spend a lot of time outside of nano challenges, really working on my writing. Even a lot of my live streams, I was working on maintaining my blog and not creating or revising works. However, I did get some writing done. I finished 2 rounds of revisions on my space fantasy. I drafted 50K of a new story, grew my blog and podcast and TikTok, worked a convention, paneled at 5 conventions, and read an average of 20 books a month. What the bleep? I may have fallen short on some things, but as I quote Les Brown every year, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Let me know how you did for your 2023 goals. You a hot mess? Did you get any of them done? Make progress? Let me know. As always, I'll be back again next week with more writing tips and writerly musings. Bye bye.